They only achieved 17 points on this map when they played it. That's only 16% of, no, sorry, 13% of their points throughout their pool. So it's definitely their worst map out of the 4. On the flip side, this is a chance for a team like Fnatic, who found 60% of their points on Stormpoint. Now they get it back to back. Could we see the APAC North Giants here come back into the equation?
Really good POI to play with from as well over at Sito Station, so they've got a great opportunity here to put those points on the board and maybe continue to not just match that record, but improve it. And for this team here, 8 points is an interesting position to be looking for, if you kind of get what I'm going at here, because it's not a huge amount of points. It's a couple of team fights that go your way, and then some decent placements. Get a sneak into that top 10, top 9, and then you find yourselves on match point. But that could put some interesting thoughts in your head, how you approach this game. Speaking of which, a lot of teams are going to be approaching Barometer, and whenever I think of that, I usually think of Team Liquid, but it's Ninjas in Pajamas who will claim that POI in the draft.
I usually think of Barometer when I see that POI has to be said.
But to this day, still...
Still haunts me. ROC Esports, look at how far they have to go to get to Barometer as well from Lightning Rod. Of course, Elrod being one of the most picked POIs when it comes to this map. In fact, it was ROC's first pick in the draft. They picked his 6th, so they clearly thought that this is where they could find points over these 2 games when it is played back to back. But again, they have to go a long way. But with this position, they might be able to get points.
Well, one thing we need to keep our eyes on here on Stormpoint, you saw yesterday a tweet from Hackis listing the POIs that they had drafted, and he said, hey, we've got to contest against VP over at Northpad, because Alliance took Trident, as they like to do. They take Rari. VP decided, you know what, we're not going to let you get Northpad. We're going to try and fight you. So Alliance versus VP over at Northpad is something surely we have to keep our eyes on here.
Yeah, definitely. If there is gunfire over towards Northpad, it's likely that the fight will happen. But it looks like, at the moment, Virtus Pro are backing off away from that fight. When we briefly checked in with them, Alliance are trying to chase them down, though. They very clearly said, we want to take this away from them. There is a survey beacon here that they can use as well, and they have changed composition. Interestingly, no crypto being used here by Alliance. They are going to favor Pathfinder instead alongside the Sparrow. So we'll see how this one plays out. I think that is a decision being made because of the potential fight as well.
I would agree with you, and I also think there's a little bit of Stormpoint in that as well. We know that Alliance were very, very good at making those micro rotates late game, getting point A to point B using that Pathfinder zip. So Alliance may be thinking the contest potential, like you quite rightly highlight, but also something they're comfortable with if we find ourselves in a situation like we do now with a potential fight against VP. But VP have backed down. They've got over to down Beast. It doesn't look like this game we're going to see it.
No, not this game, but potentially the next one. And maybe it'll happen on rotation as well, because you have to remember they are going to be both trying to get from point A to point B in the same area of this map. Speaking of going down to Barometer, a lot of squads have already found themselves in that area. We check in with 100 Thieves, who are currently on the northeast side, being followed by VK Gaming, may I add. So another potential for a fight to happen here as well.
Another quick rotate coming in from 100T as well. You saw attachments being shared between them, and when you're dropping a 1x2 for someone, usually gives a good indication that maybe you don't have the loot that you would have wanted. Another good example of that is Kassa doesn't have a single attachment on his longbow right now.
And when we speak about teams within touching distance of match point, VK Gaming are one of them. 17 points away. A victory plus kills is going to get you there. And I mean, imagine that. Imagine VK Gaming were the first team to hit match point. We've always known them as a squad that can play aggressive, can find those kills. A great fighting team, but it would definitely be a dark horse moment if they were one of the first to cross match point threshold.
Yeah, certainly a criminally underrated team, I think, in the ALGS. And the only way that you can stop being criminally underrated is continuing to perform at the level that they have been in recent events. ROC, 42 points on the board. We're going to keep highlighting that. Only the 8 needed as they hit the survey beacon here. They're going to get a little bit of an indication of where teams are going to be laying in front of them.
Sometimes when you're on this position, you might be using that survey beacon to find teams. I feel like ROC could also be considering how do we avoid teams and instead think about getting our Evos up for potential fights. But by scanning, they did give their position away to TSM, who are a little bit ahead of them on this rotation through Cascade Falls, because I think ROC want to go down and hit that ring console so they can get more Evo and get more information.
A lot of teams inside the zone playing deep into zone as well, right down on that southern side. So they... General feeling from the majority of teams is that they're going to be expecting that endgame to pull towards those buildings right down on the southern side. TSM going to take a lot longer to get there, as you can see, with the POI that they dropped out. So going to get the scan here from the survey beacon on what teams are going to be in front of them. The first one in front of them is going to be Sentinels. This is Barometer, though. This is a lot of where we expect endgame action to be taking place.
Rival Esports against Wolves also taking place in our kill feed, or at least there was a knock, but it looks like maybe that fight has subsided and it was just some damage from distance. Speaking of damage from distance, SAUL also taking down a member of Wolves Esports, so they are really struggling at the moment to stay on their feet.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams inside of Barometer at the moment. All these knocks are coming in and around Barometer. You have to wonder if there's going to be a little bit of res farming potentially going on with these teams that have rotated, looking for those extra free Evo points. At the moment, Legacy looks like he's a little bit worried that there's a lot of angles that he's not going to be able to avoid all of.
I wonder if SAUL can find their way back into the conversation as well. Of course, we know that Sharky's been very successful throughout Apex South. The real question is, are they going to be able to actually get some points here in this lobby to consider themselves potential chances of winning? Because at the moment they're a little bit of a way off, and as teams get closer towards match point, you start to wonder if you'll even get a chance to be on match point yourself.
Nemesis having a little bit of a scuffle. You can see that in the feed as well. Fnatic are going to lose one. Again, all of these fights at the moment seem to be fairly inconsequential, apart from, like you say, that one we've just seen, because ALGS will be finished and that will be him out of the game. That's going to force Fnatic to go into a position where they have to look for that res. So elsewhere, VK Gaming, they're going to be safe down on the bottom here. They've got the Newcastle to play with. They've got the wall they can use. Also a Catalyst as well. So if anyone tries to siege them, it'll be very, very difficult without taking damage.
RSC Esports, I can see it, just ballooned into the north and have just found a building for free. So they've done their job on their rotation all the way from Lightning Rod. Now are within the next 2 zones. So a chance really to play from here and pick up 8 points that they need, as Fnatic will respawn Lovelace back onto his feet. There's a lot of expectation and weight on the shoulders for Fnatic, from me in particular, with the amount of points they found on Storm Point. I'm wanting to see something special here.
One of my favorite zones, I would say, and POIs to see an endgame at Barometer. Skyhook's always up there for me when we get those crazy stacked up finishes with teams sharing buildings, sharing floors. Almost guaranteed to have 20 squads alive in those situations. Barometer, I feel like, gives it enough of a home for a lot of those teams to exist in a similar way, especially on Storm Point, which usually POI doesn't allow most teams to get in there, but there's a lot of playable spots here. Rival Esports, 20 points to their name. 30 might seem a long way off, but that's very achievable in a couple of games.
So most people are safe in Barometer, but down here on the southeast, you've got Na'Vi, Furia, and TSM all in the same area trying to move from this eastern side. TSM are going to be the last to arrive, and I don't know if Furia know that TSM are there. They were looking towards Na'Vi previously as VP get eliminated in the kill feed.
They die to Alliance as well. Nowhere near the contest, but certainly happening over at Mill, so I'm counting that as a 1-0 to Alliance.
So all these teams, all 3 of them, hesitant to actually get involved in this fight, because now they're all aware of each other's presence. They know all 3 squads are here. The zone might have to force this fight to happen as it begins to close. As TSM have gone slightly back into the zone, Furia also having to go into the zone as well to try and avoid Na'Vi's gunfire.
Shaka going to get the first knock here as well. This will be finished as well. R301, probably one of the first kills we've seen from that so far here in Riyadh.
TSM taking a balloon to try and get over the top of both teams now.
Care package over there.
And all 3 teams have done pretty well to stay alive, even if it's with 1 player or less.
Where did TSM go, though? We'll find out in a few moments' time. Alliance, though, having won that fight against VP. Stinger Bolt comes in, which just forces them to just vacate the space in front of them. It's going to give Canon here a chance to jump up onto the height, but a beautiful Q coming in there will just force him down from effect. Stinger being a real problem, and now the damage has been done. Hackers is going to swing past. Doesn't make it past, though, and now Unlucky finds himself on his own. Alliance take down VP, but won't make it any further.
I mean, we have to give credit to Kinotrope Gaming there for taking down Alliance, because we know that is no easy feat with how Alliance have been fighting throughout this tournament, Kinotrope defends successfully, rewarded now with the entirety of the western side of this circle, may I add. A real opportunity for Kinotrope to gain some points here, but depending on where this zone does shift, if it goes a little bit further southeast, they could be in a difficult spot.
Well, Navi still chasing down Furia at the moment. Madness gets a bullet to the back of his head.
Furia did get the respawn back to 3, but then Noct got taken down.
And Madness now has to pop a battery. You can see they pop the Tempest to try and close this gap. But now that's run out. EMP's going to go down, which might slow progress a little bit. But Madness is going to feel the brunt of that as well. Now the swing is going to come in from Slab. You have to imagine that Madness is not going to make it out of this. Slab will be credited with the kill. Furia still running in zone here. Keon, looking at the med situation for him, not looking great. Just the 3 syringes, and he has to go towards zone here.
Yeah, because Keon was the one who was just respawned, I believe. So he just doesn't really have the meds, but he's going to try and go the long way around. As Barometer is where we are heading, and one of the teams that did have priority to it was Wolves Esports. So, of course, I would also say that Ninjas in Pajamas dropping down the Barometer had a lot of priority to this zone. But many a team moved very fast to find themselves, and the zone is going to shift east. So, I mentioned Kinotrope winning that fight against Alliance, having the western side. They're going to have to move across the water here if they want to find themselves in zone.
Gen.G look like they're backing off initially, as 100 Thieves do at least make their presence felt here. It's not going to be a comfortable rotate for them. And 100 Thieves are going to have to think about moving forward in about 20 seconds time as well. There's a team on the island. That's going to be Sentinels, who are aware that 100 Thieves will have to move in very soon. They do have the cat wall available here. Jen Burton have that available to make that cross.
Have an enemy out there.
But outside of that, the rotate option's pretty slim here for 100 Thieves, unless they just bully them away with bullets. Like Sentinels have backed up from this position now, and the opportunity has been seized by 100 Thieves. It's really good timing for them.
Yeah, what's going to be awkward is the teams arriving from the north now. Speaking of awkward, Na'Vi also losing 1 out here to enter Force 36.
This is going to fly in himself, try and do a little bit more damage. Slab drops a frag grenade, but that's not going to hit. Tina, though, is going to have his toes and calves and ankles singed, as this fight just invites Team Liquid now to join.
Oh, what a win this could be for Liquid. If you take control of this building, one of the few buildings within the next zone, but it's not done yet. They need to make sure they heal up here from Nizel. Now they've been able to stabilize would be my question.
Fury just been eliminated, but in the meantime, the last player alive, Keon, wasn't able to make anything happen as a solo. Na'Vi still was a 2, though. Important there for Liquid that the one player that went down wasn't the Newcastle, able to quickly reset here. And speaking of resets, Hiaka also gets back to his feet, so they have the Crypto back now. 100 Thieves now push up onto Sentinels. This fight's been waiting to take place for quite some time. Good damage coming in initially. Phony down to 1 HP though. Verholz, he's not looking too healthy as well. That grenade might hurt, and it will hurt him indeed. It will be enough to take him down. And Jen left on his own here for 100 Thieves. Coming into this game, 15 points away. Loads up, flies in. Phony back on his feet now, but it's ROC who are moving into third. All of this going on. Sentinels eliminated. Phony will go down as well. 100 Thieves, they are out.
Points for ROC though, up to 45 now, and 5 points away from that match point threshold. Could we be seeing our first team cross it here as we see Storm Point for the first time? They are going to control like the entirety of the northeast side of this circle. A real opportunity for just getting placement points here. I mean, top 10 should be good for them, which would be 1 more placement point to 46. I mean, after that, you just need to win 1 more team fight. You'd be up to 49, and you'd get a placement point. It's looking good for ROC.
Looking really, really good for ROC. That pulled back to the northern side of Barometer. We mentioned earlier on how it felt like a lot of teams were backing on it, pulling down to the southern side. Well, now making that rotate, everyone has to go through each other. Like you say, ROC have all of this bridge, all of this space in front of them, with nobody closing in to contest it.
And you know, as a player, when you are like 5 points away from being that first squad to cross the match point threshold, and to think ROC are the only team out of all the regional final winners to actually do well at this tournament, they are still backing themselves up from their online performance.
Well, Nemesis are in trouble here, though. They've got to take this port. You can see damage has been done. Rival Esports trying to pressurize them at the end of this portal as well. Nemesis do make it out, but are they healthy enough to reset here? That's the real question. Looks like the Newcastle wall has gone down, so Nemesis somehow, even with about 5 HP on both players, reset for long enough to pop some shield batteries here. They will be, I think, close enough to zone to be a problem, but Rival just keep peppering them.
The ability to stabilize is incredible with Newcastle, but Rival Esports now need to push it.
But look at the fight here from Nemesis. They won't go down easily, and now they're turning this fight on their head. Zuni gets one. He's actually going to be credited with 2, and the Flow is now the last alive.
Last alive will be able to get at least a shield, but doesn't matter. Nemesis somehow stabilize and win the fight. But now it's just going to be down to 1. No shield swap available. Oh! But maybe a back can be popped.
Gets behind the knockdown shields. Gen G in the meantime respawning both Dexter and Asia while all of this fight takes place. Speaking of fights, you can see TSM and Falcons. They're throwing some fists at each other at the moment, and it looks like Falcons are in a position to potentially win this one, but no! No, it's Gen who clutches up.
TSM again finding big points here when they needed to. How many times have we seen that throughout this tournament? But can they stabilize just as they have done over and over and over again through pools? It looks like the answer is going to be no, as 2 teams manage to get their eyes on them.
And Nemesis take a page out of the TSM book. They clutch, they stay alive, they reset, and now Zuni has a Kraber. Nemesis have fought their way from a horrible looking position into one now where they are in a position of power.
12 squads now remain. Remember, 1 placement point looming as soon as you get into top 10. ROC on 46 points right now. They did just get a knock onto Nemesis, but I don't think it was converted.
VK Gaming, by the way, bang center zone. Liquid also in this zone. Na'Vi pressuring them. This fight has been written in chapters so far inside of this building, and this is the second one. There is VK Gaming, though, isolated on their own in that corner with the Newcastle wall down, away from all of this gunfire.
I mean, I can already tell you this is going to be an incredible final circle, because we've got like 6 teams within that next zone and still 6 other squads who have to force their way into the zone. Guaranteed fights to happen in the next 30 seconds.
Jaguar is going to use that ultimate accelerant to get that Newcastle wall back very soon. But VK Gaming, all of a sudden they're under duress. All of a sudden they're under pressure, and Castor's last alive as it's been Wolves Esports who are just firing down on them. Kinatrope have gone in the meantime.
And if VKG go down, really it's only ROC who are likely to pass the match point threshold here at this point. They're on 47 points right now, and they're in the kill feed.
Oh, they're
taking a fight.
They are making a play for match point here. Enderforce 36 eliminated, and match point is hit. The Americas Regional Champions will be the team to hit 51st.
ROC carry on their form from online, but now they'll want more. Now they want to take points away from other teams here.
Now they want to get comfortable winning games. Faxalon looks so cool and calm under pressure in this situation. Reloads that Devo. VK Gaming have been eliminated. They won't pick up any more points on their journey towards 50.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else is really close enough to cross match point now. It is just going to be ROC going into match 5 as the sole match point cross team.
Nemesis still holding on. Still surviving. Rock still outputting damage. They know Gen G are in this corner. They just can't quite get the angles for those headshots. One day to do it. But I don't think they've got any in the backpack.
I mean, really good position here for ROC, and a really good composition to work with as well. Having that castle wall available. Nemesis still have 1 player alive, but Team Liquid taking a fight against Gen G right now. You can also see Wolves are getting a big fight against Fnatic.
SAUL, you mentioned how they've taken the west side